Hey folks, my name's Ed Trevors. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I'm an Anglican priest serving in the beautiful parish of St. Margaret of Scotland that sits on the ancestral and on the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Yeah, I'm still in the valley, and this, by the way, is also the traditional unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. I'm not sure how many of you know this, but I was saved in an evangelical church in the southern United States. I had grown up in the Anglican Church. I'd grown up in the Anglican Church since I was about 7 years old. I mean, I was baptized here, but my family didn't go to church, but that's a whole other thing. But the bottom line, we started going when I was about 7 or 8 years old. I grew up in the Anglican Church. I was an altar boy in the Anglican Church. I served in the Anglican Church. I was mentored in the Anglican Church. I had great leaders who taught me and who cared for me and who supported me in the Anglican Church. But when I was about 18, I left the Anglican Church. It didn't mean anything to me. It had no relevance in my life. I could set my watch to where we were in the service. I knew that if the sermon was wrapping up, it was about 10:15, and we'd only be there about another 20 minutes. And if we were saying this prayer, then I knew it was only 5 more minutes. But I never really got the spiritual benefits of being a member of the church. And so when I went to college, I left it behind. When I was home, I went for Christmas services or Easter services, but I never really ever attended after that in any kind of way. Years later, after my oldest son was born, I went to church. We were invited. We were invited by some neighbors, and we went to their church with them. It changed my life. An evangelical Southern Baptist church moved me, shook me, made me come alive. For what it's worth, a couple of years after that, I went back to the Episcopal Church in the U.S. The Episcopal Church is sort of the Anglican Church of Canada's American cousin, brother, sister, family. After having my experience in that evangelical church, after being saved, being born again, being in the Episcopal Church meant everything. Those prayers that I was so used to saying for like 15 years all of a sudden carried such amazing weight and such amazing beauty and such life, and contained such life-giving words, such impactful truth. See, the thing that the Anglican Church gave me was tradition. The thing that the evangelical church gave me was relationship with Christ. So that when I came home, it was all relevant. Those 500- and 600-year-old prayers meant everything. Brought me to tears. Still, from time to time, bring me to tears. Without the evangelical church, without that particular evangelical church, I'm not here right now. I'm not ministering here in Nova Scotia. As a matter of fact, I don't know where I would be. I can't imagine it would be someplace good, but I don't know where it would be. Now, right now, in the news, evangelical churches all over the world, really, but especially here in Canada and in the United States, they're getting a bad rap. They're being vilified. In many cases, rightly so. But that church that I went to was not a politically driven church. It was not a legalistically driven church. It was not a fundamentalist driven church. It was conservative, but its conservatism was, I believe, a matter of the culture of the community we were living in, not necessarily a theological position. Right? We would talk about, I remember being in a Bible study and we talked about the death sentence. And as a Canadian, I was just, what? You guys are praising the death sentence? You're going on about the death sentence like it's a good thing? That's crazy. As a new Christian, I was saying, but if we kill them, don't we rob from them the opportunity to know Christ? But no, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. But it didn't feel like it was a theological argument as much as it was a cultural argument. That evangelical church saved my life. The people in that evangelical church saved my life. I still see them as incredibly important, wonderful, life-giving people. But as I said, the evangelical church in Canada and in the United States, they are taking a beating right now because of the politicization of the organization. They're taking a beating right now because of their stance on certain issues, because of their support of certain politicians and certain types of politicians. What I really want to say in this video is I'm not here to defend the evangelical churches. I'm here to say not every evangelical church can fit inside the box that we are currently painting, the box that we're currently creating for them in media. Some churches, some evangelical churches are all about sharing the gospel. They are all about sharing Jesus Christ. They are all about making that introduction because they know that with that introduction, people's lives will change. They haven't given up on what it means to actually be an evangelical, which is to share the gospel, to be a messenger of the power of Jesus Christ. They haven't sold themselves out to this politician or that cause. They are focused on sharing Jesus' words, Jesus' teachings, Jesus' journey, Jesus' life, Jesus' power, his gift, with the entire world around them. Come on, evangelical churches, take it back. Right? Take back that word. Take back what it means. Take back what it means to be evangelical. Take back what it means to be called an evangelical church. Don't allow those groups who are politicizing Christianity, those groups that want to create the theocratic, authoritarian states. Take what it means to be an evangelical back from those who are using these sacred spaces of ours, these sacred organizations and groups of ours, these sacred communities of ours, for the purpose of furthering personal, ideological, political values. Please. The word evangelical for the last couple of decades is under attack. That label, that honored label, that call is being tainted by those who seek to use God for their own purposes, not to be used by God for heavenly purposes. Take it back. Stand up and show the world what it truly means to be evangelical, sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ in all you do, in all you say, sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ with all those people you encounter in ways that they are able to hear it. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord's face be made to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord's countenance be lifted up to you. May you always know the peace of being in the Lord's presence. I pray it's not too late. I pray it's not too late for the evangelical church to step forward and say, enough of this nonsense. And I pray that the courage and the strength would be given to the evangelical church to shed the political baggage that some have embraced, accepted, and have chosen to throw onto your shoulders. Amen. Nemultus.